The problems in East Cleveland continue to get worse. Hello, welcome to this digital stream. I'm Jeff Slauson. We are going to be bringing you live right now to an update from East Cleveland, in particular from Councilman at Large Twan Billings, regarding the indictment of Council member Michael Smedley. He has been indicted for bribery charges in this instance. Waiting to learn a little bit more. We're going to be going through the actual docket itself to figure out specifically what was happening there. But according to at least the reports, there accepted bribes in this. And I say more problems in East Cleveland because this comes legitimately 3-4 weeks after East Cleveland's mayor was put on a suspension. Brandon King suspended by a special commission. This was a very big deal. And ultimately now we are at this point where the mayor is suspended, a council member and his chief of staff now indicted. So where does that leave the city of East Cleveland? Well, when it comes to the actual changes that are looking to be made here, what we know is that this meeting, again, Twan Billings will be leading this, is going to be discussing the idea of removing all access for Smedley, and in addition to that, forcing them.
This is my.
Oh, let's actually listen in here.
It don't matter what position you is. When a private meeting right here, because it's a private meeting right here. This is a private meeting.
I just want to be clear that
this is a private meeting.
You don't want anyone else here.
Yeah, I mean you can
say whatever you want.
If you want to come in, as long as you come in and you don't disrupt this meeting.
I came in here and I sat in the
As long as you don't disrupt it.
I'm not gonna say a word.
That's my girl. That's my girl. That's my girl.
Yes.
You know. See, you know, the thing about me and Heather, we got a different relationship. That's my girl. She get on my doggone nerves, but I love her. You know what I'm saying? You don't say I don't. Don't say I don't.
All right, so a little bit of fireworks before this meeting started.
So y'all let me know when y'all ready to rock.
Seems like a constituent and Billings were into an argument there. But yes, the council member who was indicted was the former chief of staff of the mayor, who has been suspended. They are asking that he lose all access to City Hall, and they're asking that the suspended mayor returns everything related to City Hall and have his access removed as well. This is a city that has dealt with issue after issue, problem after problem. Very much so in need of some guidance here. And it seems that they are trying to spearhead this with this conversation that's going to take place. Let's go there now.
In regards to the indictment of Michael Smedley, chief of staff, HR, whatever other positions that he's holding in the city, that really we haven't, as council, confirmed what exactly his positions is. Right now, with what's going on currently, we right now is worried about the state of East Cleveland, and with all the indictments going on and all the different fuss that's going on and the corruption in the city. I personally feel like that at this moment that he's a threat to the community, a threat to the city, and I'm going to be working with council. We're going to change the locks and we're going to change the key fobs to make sure that he can't have access to the city records or anything else to destroy anything that's going on in the city. Not only that, I'm very concerned about the things that we read today, should I say yesterday, in regards to some of the things that was withheld, with them making these guys what was they supposed to be, the advisors, the international advisors to the city, which was not anything in the charter, which his position as the chief of staff is not in the charter. The council has not or will not ever find out what this man does. He's a ghost in the city, but controls everything that goes on in the city. During the time the mayor was up under his suspension, this gentleman is the one that's running the city right now and hosting meetings and so on and so on. So what we're looking to do is take back control of this city. But I will say this much. From this point moving forward, I'm holding everybody accountable. Been working with a lot of the federal agents and agencies of various different agencies about what's going on in this city. It's time to stop it. It's been too much going on. hundreds of people cars is right now over at Cuffner Torn. Been over there for 3 years because they've been going in people's driveways, snatching their cars. The tow fees is at a high rank. You know, so many people have been victims in the city of East Cleveland. Michael Smedley has been the ghost behind the madness in this city. And it's time to end the corruption. And part of ending the corruption is thank you to the federal agents that had indicted him, because that's the start to the different things that we can do right now for the city for a different movement. Now, to be real with you, with the 30-something people that had applied for the mayor's administration or the interim mayor position, we don't know who would be right for the city. Only thing I could tell you, if a person is not coming up off the bench and able to score points, then the city is doomed. The city ain't got much to go with before it end up falling all the way to the hole. Now, as you guys have known, I have been opening up many different investigations in regards to the arsons that have been happening in the city, the many different mysterious dumping that have been happening in the city, and many other things that have been going on in the city. I would say to my colleagues as council that has been enabling this behavior, it's open seasons for anybody that's been enabling the mayor's administration to continue with the corruption that's been going on in the city. Because if you think about it, every mayor that has been indicted in the city of East Cleveland always has somebody on council that has enabled their behavior. These mayors never do this by themselves. It's always somebody on council, somebody's on council enable these mayors to be able to do the things that they do. So I would say that right now, Michael Smedley is the root cause of a lot of this damage that has happened in this city. And thank you again to the many different federal agencies that is investigating East Cleveland and made the opportunity to remove him as far as indicting, And now the rest is up to East Cleveland City Council. Right now, the mayor is currently still out there with a city vehicle. That's a police vehicle. Y'all remember that he was caught drinking in a garage. I witnessed him drinking and driving. I followed him many times. He has been pretty much, I would say, like Friday, I think it was last Friday, he was in the city, driving around in the city, and 9 times out of 10, he got a gas card. So he's still milking the city despite of throwing a GoFundMe account up. So, I mean, it's an embarrassment. And this council is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now, we passing legislation that don't have no mayor, no building and housing director, but the council is still passing legislation that don't make sense. We're not 100% sure of everything that's going on in the city because it's been shielded. And all the things that have been paperwork that have been altered, you can name it, that have been going on. Many of you guys have seen the things that have been happening in this city. Scott?
With everything that's happened over the last few years, why should the citizens of East Cleveland believe in their government right now?
I'm going to be real with you. I wasn't believing in the government. There's been decades of corruption. Okay? Decades. You never heard any city of any sort of 3 square miles that has had 3 mayors in the last, 2 decades get indicted. 23 police officers indicted. Where did you hear this at? People, cars getting towed up out of their driveways. Where do you hear that at? In a predominantly black community. Now you hear about racism. A lot of people talk about racism. But when you look at this, the city is predominantly ran by black people. And yet and still, black people are suffering. Okay? So I would say to you, I never seen anything of the sort. I would say that the residents are beat down. They don't want to participate in the process of voting because there's nobody that they can trust. People have came to these people and lied to them, told them they don't give them the world, promised them, and got up in there, and every mayor that goes in that position seem like they can't handle it. They lose their mind. So it's like that chair up there is possessed.
So what are you going to do different?
Well, right now, I'm not a mayor right now. Only thing I could do is talk about what's going on right here, because to be honest with you, I'm not certain which direction is the Supreme Court going to rule, that how the thing going to happen as far as the mayor's position. But as it stands right now, I'm the chairman of safety, and I feel right now that this situation is a safety issue, not only for the residents, but for this whole administration. Michael Smedley's name has came up many times with the fire department, police department. Many people have been fired because of him. Everybody knows that he's the root of this city. He's the one that's been running everything in this city. Brandon King was not the mayor. He was mayor on paper, but Michael Smedley is the mayor of this city. Do your homework. Michael Smedley was with Gary Norton. Gary Norton was indicted. Michael Smedley was still around. Brandon King indicted. Michael Smedley was still around up until now. So I'm glad that the feds paid attention and started watching what was going on. And like I always told the colleagues of city council, they have an opportunity to hold that administration accountable. But instead of holding them accountable, many of the council people was giving him opportunity to keep on superseding the city and taking advantage of it. They enabled him. And many different council meetings, y'all can see that they would not vote against him. Now, as we speak right now, like I said, the vehicle, no council members have been said did anything when it came to that city vehicle. Do you realize that if he hit somebody in that vehicle, who's going to be responsible? We're a broke city with no money. So they suspended him. When you get suspended, you turn in your keys, you turn in everything, right? So if you have to turn in everything, why is he still driving around in a city vehicle with covert license plates? Do you realize that any law enforcement get behind him, they're going to think that that vehicle belongs to the U.S. Marshals or anybody else that's involved in law enforcement? So he can be drinking, he can be doing everything he wanted to do in that vehicle, and the city is held responsible.
What message do you have for your fellow council members in light of all that's happened?
Be careful. Be careful. I think right now they need to take heed. They've been warned many times. But yet and still, they still complicit and they still want to hold on. You got to understand, Scott, that some of them got in there because of him. They didn't get in there because, they got a good name and that they did work in East Cleveland. No. These people have never did nothing in politics. So therefore, he used the city money to get them in office. And that's how a lot of them some of them is in office. So they don't vote against nothing when it comes to Brandon King or this administration. So like I said, right now, emergency meeting you would think need to be held, right? To change the locks, to make sure that he don't have access to the city. So we're going to see how the council respond. Right now, we haven't did anything to get that vehicle back. Nothing. We haven't ordered the law department. Right now, the council is in control of the city. Not Michael Smedley, not Willie Hemmings. Right now, the council is in control of the city. And right now, the council don't know what to do. Because if they knew what to do, then we wouldn't be in the situation that we in right now. That's what I'm saying, the inexperience that we have on that council. And like I said, I'm not a man that hold back on his words. The facts is what it is. You can look at the meetings, and you can see that the council is still passing legislation despite it not having a mayor, despite it not having a building house and giving away multiple properties. Still operating like nothing happened.
Mike Smedley's been placed on paid administrative leave pending the outcome of his trial. What do you think of that?
Who placed him on administrative leave?
Will assigned the news release.
Okay, we'll see how that works out. I don't know how factual it is. I mean, I didn't hear nothing about that until you just told me about that. However, regardless to a fact, paid administrative leave, depending on how the outcome is, still we have to take responsibility as a council and make sure he has no assets to this building. And we got to follow up, because you got to understand Willa worked for him and worked for Brandon King. So to be honest with you, you got to take Willa with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe anything that comes from anybody that was in that administration. It's too much trickery, too much lies, too much deceit. The council right now is in control of this city. And if push comes to shove, the council made a decision and was really doing their jobs, right now we can remove everything and everybody in this building right now, if we choose to. That is the council body. We are the body of the city. We are the lawmakers of this city. Okay? You got to have oaths of office. You got to have things in place. And many people have not even confirmed that they got oaths of office in here. Everybody just been winging it. And that's what's been going on in this city. People was just doing whatever they want to do here.
Do you believe somebody facing federal bribery and conspiracy charges should be on paid administrative leave?
No, I mean, that's my point. I don't believe the mayor need to be on, sitting at home and making money while you're at home and then starting a GoFundMe account. I mean, that's it don't make sense. Everybody get in trouble and then you want to sit at home and make money. Every time you look around, everybody else on paid administrative leave. How often do you know that Michael Smedley come to work? He's not here every day. How much money do he make? How much money did you remember? 3 different positions. They said he was the chief of staff, was not in the charter. He was getting paid with that. Then they went to the HR director, which he don't have an oath of office on that. Then they said just Tuesday that he was the director of building housing. How can you have all these positions with no oath of office and nobody is able to track how much money you're making? See, when you ask questions like that, nobody want to give us any answers in this council. And I'm tired of it. But like I said, London Bridges is falling down. One thing I keep telling everybody, it's a bigger guy than what they expect. And that's those people with those 3 alphabets on their backs. And that's the FBI. Everybody keep thinking that there's no such thing as the boogeyman, but now you see it's real. They ain't finished. Trust me. It's a lot of stuff that's coming down the pipe. All these people that have been victims coming through East Cleveland, that have been terrorized and everything, trust me, it's going to be a new day. It's going to be a new day. They're going to reap what they sow for what they did to this city. Any other questions?
Since you're an employee of the city, would you like to get up there and tell us what the city is doing?
In terms of what?
Of your position is what? Is it?
I'm assistant law director and prosecutor.
Could you come
respond to what you're hearing?
Yeah.
What I will say is,
We'll wait for you.
to address what Mr. Billings is saying,
Step right up if you don't mind. Thank you.
sorry. To address what Mr. Billings is saying about Mr. Smedley's many hats that he's been wearing, what that is about is we've had a number of people leave the city. The human resources director quit last year at some point, several months ago. Her position was never filled. The community development director, he got another position. He left a few months ago, and his position was never filled. Mr. Smedley went before the city council and explained to them that they were having difficulty filling those positions because, unfortunately, East Cleveland cannot pay what the average director position should pay. So they're having difficulties filling it. In the meantime, things need to get done. So he was acting in those roles so that certain things get done. We still have workers' comp issues and things of that nature. So between him and Willa Hemmons, they were trying to fill some of those roles, because we have one person here who works in the HR department, but she's not on the level where she can handle some of those, sign some of those things. So that's why Mr. Smedley took on some of those roles. That does not necessarily mean he's getting the pay for those roles or that he needs an oath for those roles, because he is not the director. He's just acting in those roles. So I hope that clears that up.
Heather, how long have you worked with Smedley, hand in hand?
I wouldn't say I work hand in hand. I've been here since 2018.
And he's been here since 14, right?
Something like that.
Your reaction when you heard about the indictment?
I was surprised. I had no idea about any involvement with the Zubair brothers other than what we had heard, which was that they had presented themselves to the city as purchasing the GE property, and they wanted to, maybe purchase some other properties in the area and work with them. I've never met them, so I knew very little about what had happened until the indictment came out. Well, actually, when the federal agent showed up with a business card from one of the brothers that called him a economic advisor for energy, and I laughed when I saw it, because I'm like, there's no such thing. And we could tell by the way the card looked that this was not something issued by the city. It was something that they had kind of cobbled together. So, but I had no idea that he had any, because what I've heard that he's being charged with, it sounds like he had some side agreements going with the brothers. I don't know if any of it's true or not, because I wasn't a part of the investigation. They issued a subpoena to the city to look into emails and things, and went back and forth. I got whatever information they asked for. I sent it to them. But I knew nothing about their involvement. I knew nothing about the memorandum of understanding, any of that.
Do you know when you got that subpoena from the feds?
I would say it was probably last summer or so.
That was the first sign of potential involvement of a city official?
Correct. Yes. But in terms of what that involvement was, I had no idea. Then I'm hearing about them presenting themselves. So I looked at it as they were trying to con city officials the way they were conning some of the other persons. The person that owned the home in Bracknell, this Asian lady that was giving them money towards buying this. They conned a number of people.
You feel Smedley was conned?
I don't know what he knew and what he didn't know. To my knowledge, based on what I know, I would have to think he was conned as well. Based on what I'm hearing the indictment is, I would think that he was conned as well, that he believed that they had this money, they had this business.
So you don't think that the city didn't know that, who owned GE?
I don't know what they looked up and what they didn't. They were presenting themselves as purchasing it. Purchasing.
But you weren't involved in any of that?
None of that. Knew nothing until I saw a business card one day. And I laughed when I saw it.
And was that also last summer?
I believe so. Last summer, because there was no appointment. This agent just kind of showed up and showed us the business card. Asked us about it. Was it legitimate? And I'm looking at the card like the numbers that's on it, the phone number was on it, looked like a Cleveland Heights exchange rather than the 681 that the city hall would use. And the title, I'm like, this is a very small city. What would we have to do with international economic affairs? So the whole thing sounded shady when I saw it, but I had no idea of their discussions with the mayor's office.
You never knew about that they had the police escorting them around, but trying to get lights and sirens to make them look bigger than what they really was?
I still haven't heard anything about
You
that.
hear about that?
Nope.
Why is Smedley on paid leave versus unpaid leave?
I think it's generally considered what you do until you have been convicted of something, you're paid. Because let's say for the sake of argument, he's found not guilty. We would then owe all that back money. I think that's just general, that you're put on paid administrative leave until you either are convicted or you take a plea.
So what is his real position?
His position is, since I've been working here, is chief of staff.
Which
That
is
is what
not
he
in
is
the
paid
charter.
to do.
Which is not in the charter.
I don't know that it has to be.
So
The mayor can-
the council wiped that pay and that position out. So if the council wiped that position and that pay out, then how is it that he's operating and being paid from a position that don't exist in the charter?
Because I don't believe the council has the authority to wipe that out. The council can determine what the budget is, but they cannot determine who the employees are. The same council tried to wipe out the law department. The same council tried to wipe out most of the employees in the finance department. The same council tried to wipe out most of the employees in the building and housing department. But you can't run a city that way. You can't undermine the city by just wiping out the employees. That's just not how that
But
works.
was the council trying to wipe out the law department, or was they trying to wipe out people that was sitting in there qualified to be in those positions?
I don't know what you mean. There are only 3 people paid in the law department. That's Willa Hemmons, the law director, myself, the assistant law director. Both of us are attorneys and have been attorneys for quite some time. So based on that, we are qualified.
But was they raising the issue though, Heather, about who had an oath of office, which the council kept raising the issue, which is documented and showed on video how often the council kept asking those questions, and then nevertheless, that's the past.
No. I'm going to address that, and I'm going to address that because I'm tired of hearing it. Everyone had an oath of office. Just because Eric Brewer, who does not work here, does not live in the city of East Cleveland, keeps saying it's an issue, does not make it true. Everyone had an oath of office, and just to make sure that everyone had an oath of office, the mayor at the time, several years ago, had every city employee, even ones that weren't required to have an oath of office, come up and take an oath of office. We all signed off on it. We made copies. Those copies were delivered to everyone, got a copy, including the clerk of council's office. What they do after that, I do not know.
But I would think that if the council received that and it was totally true, then they wouldn't keep asking for something that's factual.
Yes, they would, because you do it all the time. You don't like the truth, you like the lie. So they keep spinning the lie. And even Tracy Udrija Peters, who acted as clerk of council at one time, very recently, she pointed out that everyone's oath of office was in that council office at one time. Now, what happened after that, we do not.
How long ago was Tracy?
Feel free to ask her. But she sent out an email not too long ago when it got brought up
She has not
again.
been in East Cleveland in over 8 years.
That's not true. She wasn't let go until January of 2023, I believe, when shortly before you got on council.
2023. No, she was not here.
Corinne Stevenson fired
You know what?
her.
You're right. I take that back.
Thank
You're
you.
right. You're right.
I know what I'm talking
but I
about.
will say this much. So, how much money you said does not necessarily mean that he wasn't making the money. So, how much money do he?
I have absolutely no idea what anybody's
So what-
salary is other than my own.
But I'm saying, what do you know that he was or was not getting paid in those positions?
I have no reason to believe that he's being paid in those positions because he is not taking on the title in the sense of I am now hired to be this. He's taking on the role so that things can get done.
Well, I would think that you had a year to replace somebody. I cannot believe that out of all those positions that's in East Cleveland City Hall, that you can't find no one to hold and man those positions. That do not even sound right. I don't believe any man or woman is going to believe that a city job and nobody is going to want to make some money, even if it's part-time, that's not going to uphold those positions and want to work in the city. It's been too long that we've been asking about Mayor Rand Leach. What's the status of Mayor Rand Leach? Mayor Rand Leach
He's
was on
gone.
leave for months and accepting and taking money.
He
And
resigned.
then all of a sudden, he disappeared and nobody told us what was going on.
He
And then
resigned.
now, and then how long ago did we just found out? You seen on that meeting right there, it's a Tuesday meeting, I asked the council, who is over building housing? Nobody on the council knew until Mansell said it was Michael Smedley. So how is Michael Smedley in charge of something he has no experience on? Everybody has to have an oath. It's no ifs, no ands, or buts about it. You go in Richmond Heights, everybody got an oath. You go in Maple Heights, everybody got an oath. There's no city that you cannot govern without an oath. So it's no way that you can say, Heather, that as a assistant law director, that this was not done properly. Michael Smedley has too many positions, and as a result of that, all this winging it and all this dirty stuff that been going on in the city, I guess now everybody's gonna say, oh, the feds is picking on East Cleveland. Oh, the prosecutor's picking on East Cleveland. These guys is dirty. And it came back. Now you remember, I kept saying it over and over. It's documented. Can go right there and look at those videos. It's documented. Been saying for a long time that these guys gonna reap what they sow. I kept saying it. And now look at it. Now who in the world would have thought that these guys was from Dubai? What dummy would have thought that these guys are from Dubai?
Apparently, several people thought that these guys were from Dubai.
Those was people that was overseas. They used the city government. The government, the police, they used the police to bribe these lights and sirens, and they got into it with Michael Smedley about that.
I don't know anything about all that.
You don't know about that, huh?
No, I don't.
That's cool. That's cool, because you probably don't know about it.
Thank you.
But it's happening. That's what happened. That enabled them to believe that these guys was legit. They used City Hall as a weapon. And by them going and doing business deals up there in the mayor's office, that made it look credible.
I don't think anybody's debating that.
But
that's why they are where they are right now. That's why they're indicted.
Exactly, and that's what Scott is asking you. What was your thoughts on the wrong that was done when he did what he did? He scammed these people up out of these guys scammed people out of $10 million plus. And here it is, they use East Cleveland City Hall. Of all the places in America, they use East Cleveland City Hall. What type of remedial stuff is that? On that fence, if y'all go up there to GE right now, on that fence, what is being said on that fence, or who owns GE? Phoenix Investment. This is East Cleveland mayor, the chief of so-called staff. How in the world that they don't know who owns GE? They knew exactly what they're doing. So what we gotta hope is that they did not invest into the corruption, meaning use the city money.
Who is that? There has been no allegation that any money came from East Cleveland.
100%.
Can you say that? You're saying a lot of things that you do not have any evidence to support.
Why you think I gave it to the feds?
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't know what you did, but I'm saying you're making allegations that you don't have evidence to support. If it comes out, fine. If it comes out that they did it, fine. I don't have the authority to enable anything. That's not my position.
That's what you're here doing. Because right now you're speaking on something you clearly just said that you don't know about, right? So if you don't know
I'm
about
only
these
going
things,
to talk about the things that I do know. I'm being asked questions, and if I don't know the answer, I'm going to say that.
In the law department, like you said, there's 3 of y'all up there, right? So you worked in the law department. What did the Cleveland.com report? Willa was in that meeting.
Okay.
Some of the council people was in that meeting, right?
Okay.
So if y'all was in the meeting, they was in the meeting. How in the world that you saying that you don't know nothing about what's going on?
Is my name Willa Hemmings?
No.
Okay, was I mentioned as being in the meeting?
The department is small enough to know what's going on in the city. And right now...
So now your assumption is just because I work in the department, I know everything that's going on. Just like, hold on. Just stop talking, Mr. Billings. You came up to this microphone and stop talking, Mr. Billings. You came up here, I know, because you don't want to hear the truth.
What you doing is crime.
You don't want to hear the truth. You stood up here. Can I finish a sentence?
No.
I bet. You stood up here and you discussed Mr. Smedley's status with the city without even knowing what was going on. You had no idea that he had already been suspended. But you stood up here and you made...
It don't matter that
yes, it does.
What do it matter that he's suspended? He robbed the city. What are you talking about? It don't matter that he's suspended. I don't care about that. He has robbed the city. And you talking about
the feds will handle handle whatever comes out
You damn
from that.
skip, and they're gonna handle the rest of it too. Everybody that was
And as
complicit
for
in
the legislation that has
and
been
that's what I'm
passed
saying.
recently, some of the things that were passed had been sitting for years and waiting, and the residents had been waiting for their parcels that they had requested, that they had gone through the neighborhood advisory council, they had been before
Which
the
is
city
illegal.
council
Which is illegal.
and discussed
Which is
all
illegal.
of that. And who is
Which is
interrupting
illegal.
now? Who is being disruptive?
Well,
So,
and you gotta tell the truth. You gotta
Those
tell the truth.
parcels, I am, and so those parcels were placed on the agenda for the council to pass. That being said, the interim mayor, whoever becomes mayor, can either sign off on that or not. That doesn't prevent the council from passing things that had already been before them. Whatever happens after that, happens after that. But that did not, the city cannot just stop running just because things have gone badly for certain city officials.
First of all,
I'm not-
somebody got to be a mayor of the city. The city,
And they're working on
What
that.
Smedley's salary is?
I have no idea what he makes.
And see, the city got to be managed by somebody. And right now, the city is not being managed. As y'all know, there's no mayor, there's no building and housing. So now that he been indicted, now who's going to be signing off on legislation? You see what I'm saying? It don't make no sense. You cannot be sitting up there running the city and doing pookie business. That gets you in trouble. And that's the reason why everybody getting tagged the way they're getting tagged, because you're doing stuff illegally. This is not even remotely common sense. Let me ask you this, Heather. So with this parcel that was given out, you heard Tim Austin make a comment and said that you have 4,000, what was it? 4,000, whatever it was, that was done. I mean, what was that, 5,600?
I'm
That
not
was
sure
done
what
on
you're
the
talking
parcel, right?
about.
So if it was 5,600 down on the parcel, then where in the world that we giving away the land at $350?
You were also told at that same meeting that that's not what happened.
So he said it was
Can
gonna get the
you
window.
asked me a question. Give me
But
an
it's supposed to be done at the
opportunity.
window.
Give me an opportunity
But I
to
wasn't finished
answer the
I
question.
wasn't
You
finished,
were
though.
finished.
Okay, I'm just trying
The
to say what's
parcel.
the window. That's the part I'm talking about.
The parcel is being sold for a certain amount of money. As
Well,
part of
no.
the policy, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head,
$350.
but $375 is supposed to be going towards an appraisal. So rather than tacking that additional money on, the agreement was made to make that a part of the overall price. He is not paying $375 for the parcel. And that was communicated to you at the meeting.
Which again is supposed to have been amended. We shouldn't have did it in the first place. And
That's your opinion. You're one of five.
Okay.
Can we get real quick, your name, remind us your title and your name.
My name is Heather McCullough. I'm the Assistant Law Director and Prosecutor for the City of East Cleveland.
Heather, please spell your last name.
MCCOLLOUGH.
How long have you been in that position?
Since 2018.
Okay, thank you.
I guess my only question would have been,
What?
as a law director, you're handling some cases about all this that's happening, or
No.
did you have to keep your hands off because you're too close to it?
The municipal court is a misdemeanor court. We don't handle felonies. If something is charged here as a felony, the most that we can do is have a preliminary hearing if the defendant asks for it. And if the court determines that there was probable cause or reason to believe that this person was connected to this offense and it's a felony, it goes to common pleas court. So nothing that has been charged ever started here. It all went downtown. My only involvement in things, I had zero involvement in Mayor King's case. The only involvement I had with the federal issue, which at that time was just about the Zubair brothers, was fulfilling a subpoena that had been sent to me. Other than that, I have nothing to do with it. You know, I wish everyone luck. If this is what truly went down, it's a shame for the city of East Cleveland. And, you know, hopefully the city can rebound from that. I do not condone corruption of any kind. I do not enable corruption of any kind. And I try to operate my office as honestly as possible.
Thank you.
Juan, real quick. You heard Heather say she believes that Smedley got conned by the brothers. What do you think?
Well, I think that it's common sense. Number one, you run this city, okay? You run every department in this city. GE is the largest property in East Cleveland. And with that being noted, that's enable talk. There's nowhere in the world that he did not know what they was doing. They used the police. Police told me what happened. They came over to my house and told me that Smedley made racial statements at them because they told him, sir, we cannot ride through the city with lights and sirens. We can't do that. He was trying to use them to make these guys look bigger than what they was, right? So they knew exactly what they was doing. That's the reason why they was having dinners and things like that with them. They know who owned GE. Like I said, go up there. That Phoenix sign, it tells you who owned that building. They talk about cryptocurrency. None of that came before council. They know exactly what Michael Smedley was doing. Michael Smedley is behind everything. He's the puppet master. He was the puppet master with the dump when the Noble Road dump existed. So it's not that to a point where no matter what Heather says, she still worked for that administration. They're protectors of it. The law department is the enablers to the mayor's administration. You guys know that. There's nobody that don't know that. What they got to worry about is they going to be next, possibly, because they enable the mayor, chief of staff to do the things that they do. Remember, Willard's name been tied up into a lot of the corruption that has happened in this city.
Do you know the Zubair brothers?
I knew their father. And that was another thing. I'm glad. That's a good question. So their father worked at the recreation center. Everybody knew their father. Brandon and them.
All right, we're going to have to wrap this up here. When people wonder why there is dysfunction in the city of East Cleveland, I ask you to go no further than the content you just watched. What was intended to be a press conference to discuss possible sanctions against the chief of staff for the suspended mayor turned into a screaming match between two candidates for the mayor spot in East Cleveland. Not really much substance was covered during that because it just seemed like two adults yelling at each other, but the crux of this is we have a system that is currently existing right now in the city of East Cleveland where voters are furious, understandably so. The federal government has gotten involved for some sort of investigation, and ultimately we have an indictment against a council member, a chief of staff here, and changes very clearly need to be made. Both of the individuals you saw there believe they are the right person to do so. We'll see how this plays out, but the mess that has been existing in City Hall in East Cleveland seems to be continuing, as of course we just saw there. What was supposed to be providing clarity very clearly did not. We're going to have much more on this and many stories of the day coming up on 19 News. Our 3.5 hours of nonstop news starts in about an hour and 15 minutes, so we'll see you over on WOIO. For now, I'm Jeff Slauson with 19 News. Have a great day. Much more to come, both on air and online.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.